I'm with Dayna Danger, one of the artists in our current exhibition, the TwoSpirit Show. Tell us about some of the work that's in the exhibit.
So we have three different sort of like series kind of going on. So one of them is some beaded fetish masks that I have, and a video that I did way back 2 years ago when I was feeling like I needed to like strap some antlers on and play with my friends, and then a series where I was photographs of me and my sister. So.
Tell us a little bit about the meaning behind the sister photography.
So Sisters was kind of a way of me and my sister reconnecting once I moved here to Montreal. We have lived together our whole lives, and it was just that disconnect of, we pretty much, we had to go through a lot of stuff together, so it was really nice to kind of do this action where whenever she would come to Montreal, we would just kind of like dress up and we're like kind of like wear wigs of our own hair, dress up in kind of like really fetishy wear, very pony play in a way. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, speaking of playing and fetish and that kind of thing, the masks. Let's talk about the
Yeah.
conception of them and the meaning behind them.
Most of my stuff, like any art that I make, kind of comes out of sometimes a place of jokes. So we were saying what would be the most like, native or Métis thing ever. And it was like thinking of like a beaded fetish bodysuit. So I then decided to do these masks and get all my like really amazingly gorgeous, intelligent friends to, mixies really, like they're of I think, no, everybody in the work is of Indigenous descent. So really important. And then, and then painstakingly beaded these masks. Had a lot of help from a lot of really amazing beaders as well in the city.
And tell us about beading and the process
Yeah.
of that and how that sort of ties in with this whole theme of the exhibit.
Ooh, yeah, beading. I mean, beading is interesting because beadwork essentially isn't necessarily like indigenous to here. It was kind of brought over, and it it's a process that makes you kind of slow down. It's a lot of like kitchen table sort of work. It is often seen as women's work, although I know so many like amazing cis men and two-spirit folks that bead as well and do like exceptional jobs. So it's not, it has this like idea of where it's supposed to be, but but it's not. Anybody can really do it, and I don't know. It was just like an interesting way of like reconnecting to something, slowing myself down. So I really liked this practice of doing that. And with that comes a lot of like really interesting conversation and so.
Tell us a little bit about the film.
The film. So the film Venery is based off of just like this, I don't know, trying to connect with other like queer individuals and kind of try to try to perform intimacy, because I often find that like the antler strap-ons kind of act as this like metaphor for the ways in which we like want to connect, but sometimes we don't know how to do it in a healthy way, is how I see it. But I think it can be seen in other, I mean when you watch it, there's a lot of play going on. So yeah, so that's what I would kind of like think about when I think about that video. Yeah.
Tell us in a nutshell, basically, how you got into photography and where you're at now with your education and the triumphs you've just celebrated.
It's true. I'm a mistress of fine art, as Evergon says. I just got my graduate degree. Woo! Finally, that's why I came out here to Montreal, which feels really great to kind of be there. But photography was like a kind of like it was like the side piece, it was like a thing that was enabling me to, because I originated in sculpture, very much work with my hands, all that sort of thing. So photography gave me the ability to make things really big and take up a lot of space without actually taking up a lot of space. Sculptures, it was more of a functionality sort of thing. I built really big things and I'm just like, what the hell am I gonna do with this now? Like, you can't ship this anywhere, like, it's crazy. So photography was like a really nice way of me really building like these mise-en-scenes, or like, like trying to take up as much space as possible. So, and reacquainted my love with like film and using like large, like older types of style, like a photography, ways of documenting. So yeah, I was doing a lot of digital before, and now I'm kind of going back to like older processes. So just like testing things out.
What does being Two-Spirit mean to you, and how do you identify with that?
This is a really good question because I think this is a term that's like relatively new within the last 30 to 40 years. Two-Spirit, I feel like is just like an umbrella, like queer. I think it means a lot. Like some people are really for this term, some people are not. I think it really, like queer, I'm sure that there's lots of like older folks from before that would find it derogatory.
Right.
You know, it wasn't always, so I think it's like every generation kind of like claims their own. And Two-Spirit for me is just like this way of signifying that like I am Indigenous, I'm part of the Métis Manitoba Federation. So I mean, that's just it. Like I think it's just a way to signify to others, but I think it's more complex. And I think if you really want to know, then like get to know the person that you're talking to in a respectful way, not in an othering way.
Tell us about your thoughts with the other artists involved in this exhibit, and how exciting this is.
It's really exciting because it's so nice to be paired with such amazing artists. I can't say enough about like everybody. There's a couple people that I don't know in the show, but I'm so stoked on their work. It's beautiful, and it just like speaks to the beauty and resilience of Indigenous Two-Spirit folks. Like, yeah, and like you know, I have a soft spot for Barrick and Fallon, like obviously, and I mean to be like Kent Monkman has really paved a way for a lot of folks, and so that and really when you're speaking about like your kin and folks that have paved the way before, that's a person who's done I think a lot. So always you got to recognize. And yeah, and he's not that much older. Like I just gotta say that too, because I don't want to step on anyone's toes. But like I think that he's so relevant.
Yeah.
All these things that people are doing. So.
Why does Never Apart resonate with you, and how does this show with Never Apart? How does that appeal to you?
I think it's like I think there needs to be more sort of like different sort of spaces. I mean, we have like Canada is an interesting model because we have artist-run centers, we do have commercial galleries, all these, we have like major museums and stuff like that. And so I see Never Apart as being a place where a lot of like things can happen, like a lot of like mischief and magic can kind of happen because there's not all these like sort of rules and stipulations that you may have with other institutions. Right. And I feel like there's been a lot of like really great conversation, and I see people that have come before, like other projects that have come before, and what sort of space is being made. And so I do see a lot of inclusion of different folks, which is really great to see. And I'm not really such a big fan of the word diversity, but I would say that there is like it's speaking to that. Like there's been a lot of events that have been hosted here. There's like screenings, things like that are not just speaking to like one part of society. It's like bigger than that, yeah.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about what's coming up for you, because I know you've got some upcoming shows and maybe some press that you can talk about.
Yeah, so I have a solo show that's opening in Edmonton. That's during the Pride Week, June 9th. Yeah, June 9th with my Big Guns show. So lots of new antler strap-ons to be seen, which I'm really excited, and all local, which is really cool to show the community that's there. They really came out. There's also a show in June in Vancouver, part of, it's called Unsettled, and it's part of, like, I think it's the Queer Art Festival. And so that's being curated by Adrian Stimson, who is amazing, another like Two-Spirit, who's so cool. And so that feels really cool to be a part of that. There's like 17 other artists, so it's like so cool. Can't stop saying cool because it is so cool. Yeah. So, and then I guess I can talk about it, but like there is a cover that will be coming out on Canadian Art of a really dear friend of mine who's a total muse, but like such a behemoth herself, and she's wearing a caribou rack, and it's, yeah, there's gonna be titties on the cover of Canadian Art, so watch out for that.
Well, that's awesome. Let's go in and check out the art.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.